I got another crazy story sent in to me. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my wife and stepdaughter after uncovering a long-term deception involving her work trips? I never thought I'd be that guy posting on Reddit about my crumbling marriage, but here we are. I'm James, 46, married to Diane, 43 for the last decade. Diane has a daughter, Sonia, who's 19 now. I always thought we had a good thing going. Guess I was wrong. As I said before, we men always think everything is hunky-dory in our relationship. It all started with a stupid mistake. I was cleaning out the garage last month, trying to make space for the new lawnmower. We've lived in this house for 8 years now, and it's amazing how much junk you can accumulate. I was going through old boxes, deciding what to keep and what to throw out, when I found an old suitcase of Diane's. I figured it was just more junk, maybe old clothes she'd forgotten about. Thinking I might find something worth donating, I popped it open. Inside, I found a bunch of souvenirs, keychains, postcards, little knickknacks, normal stuff, except they were all from places Diane had never mentioned visiting. Now, Diane travels a lot for work. She's in pharmaceuticals, always jetting off to conferences and meetings. At least that's what I thought. I never questioned it much. She'd come on with stories about boring presentations and networking events. Sometimes she'd bring back small gifts, a magnet for the fridge, a funny t-shirt, that sort of thing. But seeing these souvenirs from places she'd never talked about, it got me wondering. I wish I could say I confronted her right then, that I was mature enough to sit her down and ask for an explanation, but I didn't. Instead, I started digging, and once I started, I couldn't stop. First, I checked her email. Yeah, I know her password. We've been married 10 years. These things happen. I told myself I was just looking for travel confirmations, maybe some explanation for the mystery souvenirs. What I found was so much worse. There were emails going back years to a guy named Jeremy. There's his blind side. At first, they seemed harmless, nothing major. Discussions about work, pharmaceutical industry gossip. But as I read on, the tone changed. They got more personal, more intimate. There were inside jokes I didn't understand, references to times they spent together. My head was spinning, but I kept digging. I went through credit card statements next. I found charges for restaurants in Orlando, a city Diane had never mentioned visiting for work. Hotel charges that didn't match up with her supposed conference dates. I even stooped so low as to call her office, pretending to be from IT doing a security check. Sometimes you have to use unorthodox methods to find out what you need to. I managed to get her work travel records for the past year, and what I found, God, I wish I could unknow it all. Turns out, half of Diane's work trips over the last 5 years were not for work at all. She's been visiting Jeremy in Orlando. Damn. They met at a real conference years ago and kept in touch. Eventually, it turned into more. She was cheating on me with Jeremy. She's been using work trips as a cover to spend time with him several times a year. But here's the real kicker. Sonia knew. Oof. She's known for at least 2 years. I found messages between them where Diane was coaching Sonia on what to tell me about her work trips. Sonia even covered for her mom a few times, telling me Diane had called when she hadn't. I felt like I was losing my mind. 10 years of marriage, and God knows how many of those were a lie. And Sonia, who I've helped raise since she was 9, has been in on it for years. The next week was hell. I had to pretend everything was normal when Diane was on another work trip. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I kept going over every memory, every moment in our marriage, wondering what was real and what was a lie. I thought about the night I proposed. We were at this little Italian restaurant, the one where we had our first date. I'd been nervous all night, fumbling with the ring in my pocket. When I finally got down on one knee, Diane had tears in her eyes. She said yes before I could even finish asking, was that real? Or was she already involved with Jeremy then? I remembered all the times I dropped her off at the airport, kissing her goodbye and telling her to have a good trip. How many of those times was she flying off to see him? Did she kiss him with the same lips that had just kissed me goodbye. And Sonia, God, Sonia, I helped raise that kid. I was there for her first day of high school, taught her how to drive, and helped her with college applications. I celebrated every success and comforted her through every heartbreak. Was it all a lie? Every time she hugged me and called me dad, was she thinking about how she was betraying me? Man, I have to say this is a tough read for me. I wanted to confront them both the moment Diane got back, but I forced myself to wait. I needed to be sure I had all the facts. I needed to be calm. So I waited, pretending everything was normal, dying a little inside every time Diane kissed me or Sonia called me dad. Finally, 3 days after Diane got back, I decided it was time. I waited until Sonia was out with friends. I didn't want to deal with both of them at once. I sat Diane down in the living room, the same room where she spent so many happy evenings watching movies or just talking. I told Diane that we needed to talk. I saw the confusion on her face, then the flicker of fear. She knew something was wrong, but she had no idea how much I knew. She asked me, was everything okay? I laughed. I couldn't help it. The idea that anything could be okay was ridiculous. No, I said, everything is not okay. I know about Jeremy. The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth, probably to deny it, but I cut her off. I laid out everything I'd found, the emails, the credit card charges, the travel records. With each piece of evidence, I saw her crumble a little more. When I finished, there was silence. Diane was crying, mascara running down her cheeks. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to wipe away her tears like I'd done so many times before. But a bigger part of me was glad to see her hurting. I wanted her to feel a fraction of the pain I was feeling. She said she was sorry. I never meant for it to go on for so long. I love you, I do. But I have feelings for Jeremy too. I'm so confused. I didn't know how to end it. What? I would tell her go live with him then. How long? I needed to know how much of our marriage had been a lie. She hesitated. 5 years, she said, but it wasn't always physical. At first, we were just friends. 5 years, half of our marriage, I felt like someone slapped the shit out of me. And Sonia, how long has she known? Diane looked surprised that I knew about Sonia's involvement. 2 years, she said. She found out by accident. I made her promise not to tell you. I told her I'd end it with Jeremy, but you didn't. Then she claims she tried. I didn't believe her. I stood up. I couldn't bear to hear any more excuses. I want you out of this house, I said. Go stay with your sister. I'll have divorce papers drawn up. Diane started sobbing harder. Please, James, we can work this out. I'll end it with Jeremy for good this time. I'll do anything. They always say that. Please don't throw away 10 years of marriage. I laughed again, but there was no humor in it. You threw it away every time you lied to me. Every time you went to see him, you threw it away, not me. She tried to argue more, but I was done listening. I went upstairs and threw some of her clothes into a suitcase, the same suitcase that had started this whole thing. When I came back down, Diane was still on the couch, crying. Get the fuck out, dropping the suitcase at her feet. Now, I can't even look at you. Damn. She left, still crying. As soon as the door closed behind her, I broke down. I cried like I hadn't cried since I was a kid, for the marriage I thought I had, for the future I thought we were building, for the love I thought was real. Dealing with Sonia was even harder. She came home the next day full of stories about her night out with friends, acting like everything was normal. It made me sick. I waited until after dinner to confront her. Your mom is staying with your aunt for a while. I know about Jeremy, Sonia. I know you've been covering for your mom. The look on her face was like a knife to my heart. Shock, fear, guilt, it was all there. She started crying immediately. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. Mom made me promise not to tell. She said she'd end it. She said it would break up our family if you knew. And you believed her? For 2 years, you lied to my face every day. I didn't want to lose you, Sonia cried. I was afraid you'd leave if you found out. You're the only dad I've ever really had. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you. Part of me wanted to comfort her. This was a girl I'd helped raise for damn near 10 years. I'd been there for every important moment of her life since she was 9 years old. But every time I looked at her, all I could see was betrayal. Pack your things. You're going to stay with your mom at your aunt's place. Sonia's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Please don't make me leave. She started crying and I didn't console her. You should have thought of that before lying to me for 2 years. I can't even look at you right now without feeling betrayed. I need you to go. Sonia ran upstairs, sobbing. I heard her moving around, packing. When she came back down, her face was red and puffy from crying. Please, she tried one more time. I love you, Dad. Please don't do this. Hearing her call me Dad nearly broke me, but I stood my ground. Go, I said, now. The next day, I went to the bank. I withdrew everything from our joint accounts, about $88,000. I know it's probably not legal, but I wasn't thinking straight. I figured half of it was mine anyway, and Diane owed me for years of lies. I put it all in a new account in just my name. It's been 2 weeks now. Diane's family is blowing up my phone saying this isn't right. I need to think this through. Her sister left me a voicemail calling me a heartless bastard for kicking out Sonia. Diane's parents, who I thought loved me like a son, are threatening legal action over the money. Some of my friends think I went too far, especially with taking the money and kicking out Sonia. They say I am punishing a kid for an adult's mistake, that I am letting my anger cloud my judgment. But others think I'm justified, that Diane and Sonia betrayed me and now they're facing the consequences, that I'm right to protect myself, to cut all ties with people who could lie to me so easily for so long. I don't know what to think anymore. Was I too harsh? Should I have tried to work things out with Diane? Was it wrong to kick Sonia out and pull financial support right before her sophomore year of college? I keep second guessing every memory now. All those times Diane was working late or had to extend their trip. Was she with him? All those souvenirs she brought back for me, were they guilt gifts? Did she buy them at the airport, a last-minute attempt to cover her tracks? And Sonia, I can't stop thinking about all the moments we shared, teaching her to ride a bike, cheering at her soccer games, comforting her after her first breakup, helping her to move into her dorm room just last year. Was she thinking about her lie during all those moments? Did she ever really think of me as her dad, or was I just a convenient stand-in? I've started seeing a therapist. He says I'm experiencing trauma, that my reaction is normal given the circumstances. He's trying to help me work through my anger, my sense of betrayal, but it's hard. Every time I feel like I'm making progress, something reminds me of Diane or Sonia, and I'm right back where I started. I know I need to make some decisions soon. Diane's lawyer has been in touch about the money. They're threatening legal action if I don't return at least half of what I took from the joint accounts. Part of me wants to fight it out of spite, to make them work for every penny. But another part of me is just tired of fighting, tired of hurting. Sonia has sent me several emails, long emotional pleas for forgiveness. She begged me to let her come home, promised she'd make it up to me somehow. Reading them breaks my heart all over again. I haven't responded to any of them. I don't know what to say. My own family is divided on how to react. My parents are supportive, angry on my behalf at how I've been treated. But my sister thinks I'm being too harsh, especially with Sonia. She keeps reminding me that Sonia isn't my flesh and blood, that she was put in an impossible position by her mother. But that almost makes it worse. I chose to love Sonia, to be a father to her, and she chose to betray that love. This has to be hard on her mentally. I said in a previous video, sometimes you have to prioritize your mental battles. But with something like this, love can make it difficult to let go. I'm trying to focus on the future, but it's hard. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my family, had been turned upside down. Some days I think about reaching out to Diane, about hearing her side of the story in full. But then I remember all the lies, all the deception. So, Reddit, am I the asshole here? Did I go too far? Or am I justified in my actions? What would you do in my shoes? Man, I can't really comment on this one. I know getting rid of Diane should be easy because she cheated, but the stepdaughter was kind of thrown into this. Remember, her mom asked her not to tell, but people react differently in certain situations. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.